listening to Redvolution Rampage, and we are all still in quarantine. I'm Omar.
I'm Jeff.
Okay. Jeff and Amanda both said their names at the same time, and they're the other ones on the line here with us. Zach may or may not be joining us. He's running into some technical difficulties. For now, it's a rough time. Hey, guys, it's been exactly 1 month since we've had hockey. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, to the day of, it was March 11th when we were supposed to play the Devils, and that never happened.
Wow.
This is what happens. You go try to go visit the Devils. Shit like this happen.
New Jersey will do that to you.
Right? Jersey. Jersey. All right, but in seriousness, though, it's not been a fun time. We've had nothing but reruns on TV. The league's just had terrible news in and out. The Oilers with the loss of Kobe Cave. May he rest in peace. Prayers for his family and friends. For those of you who don't know, Senator Kobe Cave of the Edmonton Oilers was admitted to a hospital for a brain bleed with pressure on his brain. They tried to operate. The operation was unsuccessful, and he has passed away. It's a tough time, but it's also an eye-opening time of our morality. It shouldn't really take a celebrity or a hockey player or something like that to really put an emphasis on it, especially in the times we're in now. But nonetheless, we should take a moment and kind of be thankful for the people we do have around us and take that time to really reflect.
Definitely.
In other news, really, Dougie Hamilton's back, so let's just talk about some happy news. Let's just change the tone a little bit, as it were. So the one, the only Douglas
we know
Hamilton.
I'm super excited about that.
Oh yes, so he is fully back. Now the question is if they're going to pull him off the long-term injury reserve. If they can pull him off the long-term injury reserve, because right now, him being on the LTIR has been saving the Hurricanes the cap space needed to keep Sami Vatanen and Brady Shea and Vincent Trocheck on the roster. Even guys like Morgan Geekie were allowed to come up because of that save space. Again, Dougie Hamilton is commanding $5 million of cap space, actually close to $6 million.
Oh, wow.
So
Yeah.
that's a lot of cap space. And the thing is, like, if the season is over, no big deal. Because if the season is over, then we go into next season. Now, the cap problem for next season is going to be interesting, right? Originally, we talked about how the cap space was going to go up. And with the high limit being about $88 million. But with all the loss of revenue on the season, and especially with the playoffs, there's no way that the cap's going to go up. In fact, if it wasn't for the CBA and the NHLPA, really the cap would have gone down. Now, they won't allow the cap to go down, but it's probably going to stay exactly where it's at. Now, that puts a lot of teams under pressure, especially teams looking to sign big names. Luckily, the Hurricanes, we only got to worry about Warren Fogle and Hayden Fleury this offseason. I wouldn't keep... I mean, we have 5 pending UFAs. Let's talk about that for a second, because we do have the 5 pending UFAs on the season. So they are Justin Williams, Trevor Van Riemsdyk, Joel Edmondson, Anton Forsberg, and this one is kind of... let's see if I can find the last name here.
Is it Vatanen?
Oh, yeah, that's right, yeah. Sami Vatanen. You're right. There you go. So those are the 5 pending UFAs. I don't think they're going to sign anyone. I think if it's going to be anyone, it's going to be Justin Williams. He's probably going to get a similar deal to the one he's gotten. And here's the interesting thing. Of Justin Williams, bonuses, none of them are going to kick in. None of his bonuses are going to kick in. That means Justin Williams is going to end up playing really 20 games for less than $1 million. Because none of his bonuses are going to kick in because the bonuses were based on the team making the playoffs, the teams advancing through the playoffs, and winning the cup. So right now, as it stands, Justin Williams is not going to gain any bonuses. Again, all his bonuses go against future cap, too. So that would actually help the Hurricanes' cap space moving forward. Help the cap space moving forward because the Canes don't have to worry about paying for, or at least getting cap limited by Williams' bonuses. They also don't have to worry about Patrick Marleau's hit or Justin Falk's retained salary, which will drop another about $7 to $7.5 million in cap space there. So all that really puts the Hurricanes in a good spot cap-wise. Enough, I would say, to where if you say you bring up Morgan Geekie to kind of replace Justin Williams, you have enough space to make a big trade move to bring in a big name.
So here's my question. With the situation that the NHL is in right now, when do they cut off and be like, all right, you know what, this is what's happening, and this is when you're going to be able to start moving people or start talking contracts? When should they really start looking into that? Because June's coming up in a couple months, and that's when they really start looking.
And here's the thing. Really, they should really start making ideas and stuff, or really start putting down solid plans until either one or two things happen. Either there is a true CDC or more importantly, WHO, because Canada's involved, informed decision-making process for the coronavirus and how soon we can actually return to a somewhat decent, semi-normal life. At least for the players, if not for the fans. And we'll talk about some of the stuff that Waddell and Brendan Moore have talked about during interviews with the media. Either that, or enough time passes where you start thinking that if there's no way to salvage anything without truly putting a dent into next season, and at some point the league might look at it and do the cost management and say that playoffs for half the league will be a detriment money-wise compared to a full season for the whole league.
Yeah.
Because you gotta realize, first of all, you're only 16 teams are gonna play. That's if they don't maximize, and that could be another reason why you expand the playoffs, is trying to get more money for more teams. But even as games play, because at that point, when you maximize, the more teams you add, the less games will have to be played per round, and every round knocks out half the competitors. Maybe I won't say half, but a good chunk of the competitors, even a third of some teams. But here's the thing: even if some teams get bye weeks, then you're defeating the purpose of playing all the teams, because you're trying to get revenue for all the teams some way, somehow. And just do the math, how many games you're actually going to get. Only 2 teams are going to get the full range of games, and if rounds go by quicker or teams get swept, because sweeps might be more inclined to happen. You know, if you lose 2 games in a best out of 3, you're done, versus you lose 2 games at a best out of 7, you might win in 5 or 7, like we saw last year with the Canes in Washington.
Yep.
So even if you win 2 games if you lose 2 games in a best out of 5, your back's against the wall for the next 3 games. It's not a fun place to be. You see it a lot in baseball. Very few teams come out of a 2-game deficit in baseball. Again, baseball is a lot lighter game compared to hockey. That's another thing. We get a lot of back-to-back nights, a lot of chances for injury, especially if these guys get jumped right into the playoffs without an actual plan for a sort of training camp or any sort of way to kind of get them up to speed. You're going to see a lot more injuries. It's not going to be pretty, and the players don't want it. Now what Waddell is open to is playing in empty arenas. Just finish the season in empty arenas if you have to, neutral site if you have to. I know MLB baseball's talked about, and this is weird. Check this out. So baseball has talked about playing starting their season in empty ballparks in Arizona.
I did see that.
But this is the greatest part, right? The players will not be allowed to sit in the bleachers, but instead they would have to sit. They wouldn't be allowed to sit in the dugout. They'll have to sit in the bleachers, and they'd have to sit 6 feet apart from each other, and then and the games would be double headers, and they would be 7-inning games. And there'd be no ump. It'd be a digital strike zone. And it's for all my baseball fans right now listening. And I know we're in Carolina, so there's a lot of you out there. Wish I had Zach in to talk a little bit about this. That's wild, all right? I don't trust a digital strike zone to save my life.
I was just going to bring that up because, they tried that out during the All-Star game. For the NHL, and remember they had to go to commercial quite a few times because they had to sit there and reset the system. I mean, imagine if in baseball the digital strike zone just goes out and they're like, well, now they have to delay it, and it goes from 7 innings. Normally would take about 2.5-3 hours maybe. Now it's just expanding.
Yeah, but here's the thing though. What if because here's the thing though. There's the ump controls the speed of the game, right? And sometimes an ump will give a call here or there because he knows he's controlling the game. Is it a completely fair call? No. But will he call will he call a strike on a dude who's continuing to foul tip balls and the ump knows this guy's got no way in hell he's gonna actually get a hit off that pitcher? Yeah, he's gonna do that because he's gonna control the speed of the game, right?
Well, that's just like in hockey. I mean, there's certain refs that are going to call certain penalties against certain players. Now, if you bring in the computer aspect of it and just have computerized penalties, those players that normally get penalties just because they need to liven up the crowd or liven up the other team is no longer there. So you take the human factor out of it, and the game honestly becomes boring, in my opinion.
So here's the thing. So now you still need to have refs for hockey, right? There's no technology that exists right now that would replace a ref. Baseball has it, and they've used it. If there was such technology, the refs would have been using it to help them make calls, right? Because refs don't want to be wrong; they want to make the right call. But that technology doesn't work unless you look at replays, right? But you can't rely on replays because someone's got to blow a whistle.
Exactly.
So the way I see it is, it'll be interesting, right? Do you play one game per night? I mean, or do you go someplace in Canada where there's like multiple rinks and perhaps even outdoor rinks, right? And this might sound crazy, but like outdoor rinks keep the fan bases away, and that might be something interesting, right? Make every freaking game an outdoor game and televise it, and you try to reap your money via TV ratings. Now you've got probably the most interesting hockey in the history of the sport, where the most professional players are playing real estate games on ponds or whatever in Canada. Something ridiculous, even though the weather is probably past that right now.
What's your input, Amanda?
Sorry, I was Making a park chicken for Rayla. I have
What?
myself muted. Sorry. I mean, I gotta do what I gotta do while we're recording, you know. But I would like to see the outdoor games. That would be a really good. I think that would be really neat. I'm still worried about the health of the players, though. Even if they did play in, empty arenas, you've still got to think about the locker rooms and the people that work there and the,
Right, which is why I'm
'cause that's a
advocating for the outdoor areas where they would have to literally be kind of
true.
like they'd show up to the rinks kind of pretty much dressed,
Right.
and there's enough space out there in the outdoor area where you don't have to sit right next to each other. Granted, they're still gonna check each other and be like right up next to each
Right.
other
It's not
on
like
the
it's a
ice.
non-contact sport.
We're gonna start making them all wear masks.
I mean, it just seems like there's a lot of logistics to it.
Branded, color coded masks while playing.
Yeah.
That's got to be the greatest. That'd be great. I would mic everyone up.
Oh God.
Up and just sell it as sort of the XFL of hockey. But instead of getting like has-beens and people who want to call themselves "He Hate Me," you get Sidney Crosby chirping Connor McDavid uh, while outdoors and let these kids be kids. Of course, it'd be weird. It'd be something different. It would be something probably many fans would be like, you know what? Okay, I want to tune in. I want to watch this. This is different. This is new. Versus just playing in an empty arena and you hear every echoing, puck, ref,
Right. Yeah.
echoing throughout the building versus outdoor areas where you're not so worried about the sound and the noise, but maybe you mic some guys up, kind of like preseason baseball, where
So
guys are where the games are where there are. Have you ever watched preseason baseball where some of the guys while they're playing are mic'd up and doing interviews in the outfield?
No.
yeah, I've seen a few of those.
It's great, but we're not going to interview players while they're playing hockey. But still, it'd be interesting to get some mic'd up audio to replace fan audio on the games.
So if they're to do that, I mean, me growing up in a hockey environment, me being around semi-pro locker rooms as well as beer league locker rooms, do you really want to bring some of those kids up with that kind of language? I mean, it's a whole different world. I mean,
You give it a delay and like
I
you give it a delay and you get
You
some
would.
dude who's hitting the bleeping button. They'll catch it.
You can find that on YouTube, though. I mean,
oh yeah,
mic'd up player stuff.
Yeah,
You're gonna find it.
they'll figure it out, Or it could be where they play all the games all at once, and then they don't tell you when the scores, and then they just aired them throughout the day. And so that way it gives you a little bit of time for some editing. The games could go by a little quicker. And I tell you right now, if you showed that on NBC Sports all day, that you'd get ratings throughout the roof.
oh yeah.
You would make your money
Yeah.
back
Oh, yeah.
in a heartbeat. I think that could be a solution where everyone would be having fun. Now the only problem is these players would have to stay in whatever location it is, away from their family. It'd be an away game for everybody involved. That would be the only
Right.
con, in my opinion, other than the fact that we are still kind of sort of putting these players at risk. There have been players who tested positive in some organizations. The Senators and the Avalanche both have had minor leaguers test positive, or staffers, or so we got to be double and triply careful if we're going to do stuff like this. But it's doable if on the downhill side of the curve that we're all trying to flatten.
Has there been any updated status on the New York Rangers, New York Knicks owner by chance, or is it the owner or the GM? I know someone in the higher ups contracted it, and there's a lot of negativity towards him because they were saying that he wasn't a really great owner or whatnot.
Probably the
But
owner. It's probably the owner, but we're not gonna I'm not gonna talk about that because I don't really know much about it, so I can only speculate.
So I take it there hasn't been any kind of update since.
I mean, there probably has. Not that I've personally seen it, because I personally don't care. Not to say that I don't care about a human being, but the owner of the Rangers slash Knicks, Madison Square Garden area kind of teams, really doesn't do much for me. I mean, it wouldn't
Yeah.
even
It's
do
not
much
high on
for
your
the.
radar.
No, it really isn't. And
Yeah,
even
that
if
sounds better than you don't give a shit.
Oh my God! She just dropped an S
Oh, sorry.
bomb.
Hey, but you know what? I didn't finish it. I just said shit.
you know what? You guys are pushing the ratings right now. All right, but in seriousness though, like, okay, so before we finish, we will be recording a Canes After Dark episode after this episode exclusively for Patreons, and we'll talk a little bit more about Patreons and what our Patreons are getting towards the end of the episode. So stick around for that at least. But in seriousness though, whatever happens, like, he's gonna get replaced. Right? Ownership is one thing. It doesn't make that much of an impact unless it's something dramatic, like the change from Karmanos to Dundon. Right? That was a dramatic change that came with a difference. It was a difference of ownership versus, like, okay, now his son's gonna run it. Okay. It happened with the Red Wings. It happened with, like, every team. You don't get that much of a difference. It's still the same family. That family comes with expectations. Like, if Carmanos' son took over, then we would be like, nothing would have changed because he has set expectations. Now, could he done a little better than his daddy? Probably, but he's not got the same mindset. Tom Dundon came in telling everyone, I'm going to change everything. Now, the expectation was things are going to change. And lo and behold, things have changed. So it's really just about when it comes to, leadership. Is it someone who's just been thrust into a role or someone who knows the role? And that's what it is. And for the end of the days, a lot of these New York teams, a lot of these legacy teams have been run by the same family for decades, and nothing's going to change.
Exactly. So, so also on the topic, it's trying to roll into something new, but have you guys watched either one of the phone calls with Tripp?
I have not gotten a chance to. I've seen little clips on Twitter, but I haven't gotten.
I haven't finished him because Tripp goes on, and he's an absolute blast. We need to get him on the show. We had Shane Willis on our last episode. The episode after that, we had Alex Nedeljkovic. So go back after this episode and listen to those. Those were really good episodes to listen to. Ned was an absolute blast to have on. Shane was hilarious. God, Shane just, like, his stories that he tells and the things he knows about the organization and kind of the way he has gotten into the Fox News thing has been incredible. So we do need to get Tripp Tracy on here. I know he would really jive well with us little group of misfits. But yeah. Anyways, go ahead, Jeff.
But I actually watched both of them today because they just put up a new one. The first one was with Marty, Gardner, and Brock, and some of the facial expressions from Martinook is it's a trip. He's delaying on some of his responses because he's trying to find the correct wording without offending. And then I watched the next one that they just put up today. It was with Edmondson, Brady Shea, and Trocheck. And those guys were, both of the episodes were really good. And then I also caught the one on NHL.com with the brothers episode where they did the Kachuk brothers, the Hughes brothers, and the Stalls. And, the first two, basically, it was the younger guys, and then they throw in the Stahl brothers, and they're all the older dads and everything. So it was quite interesting watching them. So I highly advise go on there, check those out.
Yeah, those are fun to watch, and listening to these players talk about the situations they're in, it kind of makes it real. Have you guys seen some of the interviews with Rob Brindamore and how he has a house gym, and I'm jealous because I want a house gym. He works out like a monster. Of course, it's Rod Brindamore, so
Rod the bod.
Rod the Bod.
Expecting less than from Rod.
What was that, Amanda?
Oh, I said, would you expect anything less from Rod than for him
Oh,
to have a home
absolutely
gym?
not.
If
Yeah.
anybody's going to have home gym, it would be him.
Yeah, I mean he's absolutely the guy to have a home gym, and not only like does he have a great home gym, like, but he's one who said during that interview like, hey, we just start the playoffs. He really wants to make the playoffs with the Hurricanes, and like Waddell's like whatever, I just want the season back, but Rod Brind'Amore's like, just give me playoffs. I just want to make the playoffs, which is interesting. It's a lot of players don't want to jump into the playoffs. They just want to earn it at least, get some games under their belt. We talked to Alex Nedeljkovic. He said that he'd rather get a couple of games under his belt before going to the playoffs, at least trying to earn it instead of just like, oh, well, bubble teams come on in. Because, like, some of these bubble teams just got hot in the last few games. So, I don't know what to tell you. I saw the funniest things, like, just go off of the last few wins, like whoever's riding the hottest win streak, go ahead, just hand them the cup, and that would be the Los Angeles Kings, with who are riding a 6-game win streak.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the best idea.
The runners up, you know who the runners up are? The Carolina Hurricanes, 3-game win streak. That is the second highest win streak.
I can't wait till we do our next episode after this one, because I've created a couple memes that I've posted on Elimination Cafe, and one of them has to do with the Toronto Maple Leafs, and I was basically talking about, I put a picture of the infamous David Ayers, and it says Toronto's goals was, boys, we actually have a good chance the second half of the season, and underneath it I put the Canes and Ayers. Here, hold our beer. And it's so true, because like it's anybody's game in the last half of the season, then all of a sudden something like this pops up and you're like, well, I guess we're gonna go into the pause as the laughing stock of the season, even though Detroit has a heck of a lot worse reputation than we do right now.
Detroit fans are like, just end the season. I don't see the big deal. Just end it.
And you know what? I guarantee you, one of the main reasons why we don't have any more toilet paper out there is because their season ended back in November. So I guarantee you they are hoarding all the TP for such a crappy end of the year party.
Oh, jeez. Ba-dum-bum.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and be like, that fell flat. But anyways, looks like Zach is trying to join. Hey, Zach, welcome back to the team. No, okay. We'll see how that works.
Maybe not.
Yeah, he's here. Just he's
we still
silent.
love you, Zach.
Yeah, he'll hear. When Zach actually gets a good microphone in, we'll add him to that. Anyways,
it does it this time.
Does what this time?
Yay.
Oh my God, I hear voices.
That's not good, dude.
Zach, welcome back. You know what? I'm gonna rewind.
Way
a little
too damn
bit.
loud.
I'm gonna rewind
There
a
we
little
go.
bit. We were talking about how the playing in empty arenas idea, and we went back and talked about how baseball wanted to do it, or is talking about doing it in Arizona, and how they were gonna play double headers, 7-inning games, with the players sitting in the bleachers instead of the dugout. And check this out. This one's going to probably infuriate you a little bit, so bear with me. Digital strike zones.
I wish I had that in college.
What, digital
I got
strike
through
zones?
so many. Yeah, I got screwed so many times on strike threes that were like a foot outside.
Ah, come on.
Yeah, I see it more happening in baseball than I do in hockey. Because hockey, you're in an arena, you're inside. It has a way better atmosphere. Like when it gets super loud and you can't hear anybody. Where in baseball, it goes back to its roots when you're playing in parks and no one's around.
No, but here's the thing about baseball. Like, I could tell who either hits a home run or not based upon how loud the crowd is. I can listen to the crowd and be like, yep, that one's leaving the park.
So
But also, let's think about it. They've done it before. Because remember during the Baltimore riots, they had that one game with the Baltimore Orioles and I believe it was the Chicago White Sox and a completely empty.
Yeah, that was
Camden
weird.
Yard.
That was weird as hell. That thing made like headlines for a while. Well, we'll see. We'll see how baseball does. But we were talking about in hockey taking it outdoors, taking it to Canada, and going to like a place where there's a bunch of rinks, and just getting all the teams out there and like day in and day out just knock out games while
Jeff, let's go to
televising it all.
Scotland. Jeff, come on, Scotland.
Is there enough ice
Oh.
in Scotland?
Well, if you go north in Scotland, I mean it's a whole different country. But I haven't been farther north than Glasgow or no, Dundee. I haven't been any farther north than Dundee. And it was I haven't been up there in the wintertime in a while, but I could see it happening. Why not? Play on Loch Ness. See if the monster pops out.
Yeah, but it's already like April. Like, no, I think the only place that's cold enough to do it is like Canada or like
Edmonton.
Siberia. Yeah, Edmonton or like Siberia. But in seriousness though, like that's the only place
Yeah,
where
let's
you
go
can get
take
enough.
on the KHL.
Right? Oh God, they canceled their season as well, so nobody's playing.
I mean, I've seen some of the pictures from some of my friends that are up in Fairbanks right now, and they're still. I mean, it's April, but there's still a lot of snow up there. Weather doesn't really start popping around to the actual warm enough to go out and actually be sociable until maybe May timeframe.
Look, let's be real about one thing. Whatever they choose, the most important part is to protect the players. So we got to make sure there's enough testing for the players before they're allowed to come into contact with each other. And because just because you're not showing symptoms doesn't mean that, I mean, you're not going to spread it. Because how many people have been asymptomatic who've later tested positive and have honestly just caused havoc wherever they are. I mean, this thing doesn't look like it's slowing down, though. Has it teetered off with the amount of growth? Yeah, but we're still getting the same number of new cases every day, same number of people losing their lives to this thing every day. So let's just be safe and do the right thing with these players. We've already lost enough.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
And speaking of losses, we gotta send our thoughts out to the Edmonton Oilers community, the Bakersfield Condors community, as they did lose Colby K today.
Yeah, we talked about that earlier and how he...
Yeah, but I wasn't here, so I gotta say it.
Yeah, I was just saying, like, how... even though this coronavirus thing is sweeping the nation, there is still other medical concerns out there. This is not the only thing afflicting the human race. So take the time, volunteer if you've got the time to volunteer, if you're safe enough to volunteer. Try to volunteer in a safe way. Try to help others because we're all in this together.
Be like Jeff and make workout videos.
Whatever way you can help everyone else. So Jeff's workout videos, check him out. He actually does a pretty good job with them. So...
Well, thank you for the compliment.
You know what?
And
Just
the
take it.
shameless
Take
plug.
it. Take it
Oh,
before I take it back.
I'm going to take it to dinner, Omar. I'm going to take it to dinner.
Oh
All
my
right.
god.
All right. So So we
And
talked a little bit
I haven't
about.
heard Amanda yet. What are you doing, girl?
You know what? I have children in the house, so I'm trying to mute myself as much as possible. I'm good. I'm here. I swear. I just, background noise.
Well, I did
Can't
see
you
you
just
not
like
too
put?
long ago.
Can't you put them like into pacifiers or whatever? Or is that doesn't work after a
Um,
certain age?
Yeah, they're a little past.
I'm gonna leave that one alone.
I think
Honestly, I'm gonna leave that alone.
I,
Well, with
I
one
think
of
8
them,
and
give her a
13 is a
coloring
little
book, and
past
then
the pacifier
Rayla.
stage. Huh?
One of
Is
them
it-
give her a coloring book, and she's done for an hour. And the other one, I don't know what you give Rayla to occupy her. She's a ball of energy.
Yes, she is. But
Benadryl?
sorry, what?
NyQuil. I mean Benadryl.
No, stop it.
School.
Drug fight
Okay.
dude.
All right,
See,
moving.
that's what Amanda's waiting for. She's like, can they please go back to school?
You know what? I've really kind of enjoyed them being here. And they're in year-round school, so they've been out of school since March 9th, I think. And
Dang.
they were supposed to go back on the 1st, and
That didn't
then they
happen.
were going to start online school. Yeah, and then they were going to start online schooling this Monday. But then they said, well, let's put them on. Let's get all the year-round people to kind of coincide with the calendar year people. So they start this Monday. So they haven't had school in over a month. So they've been
Just sit them
chilling,
down and
but
tell them to watch the History Channel.
I mean,
Learn about
we've been
aliens.
right. But we've been
You know
having
what?
fun. We've been going for walks and doing things around the house and the family. And with my work schedule having been reduced, I've been lucky enough to spend a lot more time with them. But next week, I told them this is the last fun week, because next week we're about to have schedules and structure and schoolwork and chores, and so have fun. But this is it. Your month of freedom is over. So
You know, I
time to
actually
lay
called
down the law.
my sister up in my hometown yesterday, and she's got 3 kids. All 3 of them are on the autism scale, and they pretty much do like 2-3 hours a day at schoolwork, and then do like family activity, and then do kind of like a daily thing. Try not to kill each other. So
I mean, the way they've got the schools set up, I mean, they've got a few hours of school, they knock it out, and then they're done. And personally, I kind of like it. And if I could stay home and do homeschooling, I definitely would, but I can't.
Sounds
'cause,
like what
you know,
Omar's been doing.
I have bills. But sorry, what did you say?
It sounds like what Omar's been doing with college.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, I'm only a couple of weeks away from being done. Not Tom Dun, but done.
Dun, dun.
dun dun dun.
Yep, full.
No, you got to get that Law and Order in there. Dun,
Yeah,
dun.
yeah, full SVU.
We're watching a
noise
lot
there.
of that.
I've been watching. I finished Tiger King. Good lord, that show
I have been resisting
is.
watching that one. But
You shouldn't.
Apparently,
you
they're
shouldn't.
making a season 2.
No, they're
I'm
just
ne-
adding one episode. They're not making a season 2. They're just adding. There's no way they can make a season 2. Like that entire season covers like 5 years in the life of this guy. And they started recording him before the madness happened. Like apparently they started this show out as like some sort of like Blackfish but for tigers. Like trying to figure out like are these animals abused in captivity, yada yada yada. And they found out the way more interesting story is the owners than the actual like the humans were way more interesting than the tigers.
Yeah.
So I'm
Uh,
neither gonna
funny
confirm
thing.
or deny that I've watched it.
Uh-oh.
But I've lived in Oklahoma for 2.5 years, not even knowing that there was a tiger park.
right?
There's
So
one not far from Raleigh, right?
yeah,
A tiger park or the actual North Carolina Zoo?
No, there's an actual like big cat rescue place over in I
Yeah.
believe it's Hillsboro.
I don't think it's
Yeah,
Hillsboro,
so it's
but
about an hour away.
It's not far. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like 45 minutes. It's right next to my uncle.
It's really weird. Well, the characters are just characters, so it's an interesting take on everything. Anyways, moving on from Tiger King. This is a hockey podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, one more thing about Tiger King.
Oh boy.
One more thing. I actually have a weird connection to the story because everybody knows how like Tiger King was the West Coast and Carol Baskin was the East Coast. I actually met her when I was a kid.
dun 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 dun.
Yeah.
Did you help feed someone to the tigers?
No. They
Covered
did a
them up
tiger
with sardine
show-
oil?
They did a tiger show at the resort we were at, and they brought out like mountain lions and cougars and a white tiger, and we got to pet them, have our pictures with them. I was like 8. I had no clue who this lady was. I still have pictures. I actually dug through my photo albums when I saw her face. I went, "Oh crud, is this her?" And I looked through, and there she is.
She's like,
It's her husband.
sweetie, I need you to help me cover this body with sardine oil. You're like, cool, dead body.
Amanda, please don't get me arrested.
You don't have to worry about it.
I didn't do anything wrong.
I love my favorite Tiger King meme is
Jet ski.
it's like the Bill Hayden eating popcorn from SNL, and it's like it's just like Ron Howard in Costa Rica watching Tiger King.
Oh
like
God.
that's all right. Moving.
Oh my lord. Okay, now I think we have to move on. We can't.
We
stop
gotta
that.
move on. We gotta move on.
Yes.
This
Let's move
cannot
on.
turn into a Tiger King podcast.
No, let's please not.
All right.
Why
so-
not? We can
Dougie,
we can always take a bite out of
Dougie,
hockey.
Dougie.
That's right. Dougie Hamilton is back. We talked a little bit about that. We talked about how him being back put a cap hit straight. And we talked about how it's going to be okay if the season's over. But what if it's not? Right? So what if the season is not over? Dougie Hamilton and his $5.5 million come back onto the books and away from the shielding under the LTIR. How does Don Waddell fix this? Well, first of all, let's make it this. If with Dougie Hamilton back, we're not getting Morgan Geeky back.
Nope.
If the season continues.
I mean,
next
he
year,
really made a splash when he came up.
it's about the money. There's no cap space.
It's either that or you have
Yeah.
to put somebody as like the healthy scratch or put them on IR. And the only
Someone's
person
gonna have
that
to
you
go on
could
waivers.
Possibly
Someone's gonna have to
Uh,
go
that
on
could
waivers.
possibly do that is I think it's DeZingle.
Well,
Why not?
Zingle
Why
should
not
be-
Vatanen?
Vatanen's healthy. Zingle's healthy. They've both come off of injury. No, they're healthy. They're not. They've both come off.
I'd rather
No,
keep
I was
Zingle
more-
just
I
for
was
the
doing
simple fact.
What was that?
I was doing because you said Vatanen. I was like, he hasn't even played a game yet.
Yeah,
You
but
gotta
he's
give him a
technically
chance.
healthy. He's technically healthy though.
Yeah, but if we're gonna go straight into the playoffs after this pause, why put a player in that hasn't played with the team, even though he's practiced with them a couple times, versus DeZingle, who's been here all year and knows the system. I'd rather put DeZingle in, have Vatanen on the IR or the healthy scratch list, and see if we need to fill in every now and then. Considering Dougie's going to be coming back from an injury,
Hey,
have
Jeff.
Vat in there.
Jeff.
Yeah.
DeZingle's a forward. Vatanen's a defenseman.
Yeah, but we still have a ton of defensemen in the minors.
Yeah,
that we
so
could
DeZingle,
use.
but DeZingle's gonna stay because Morgan Geeky can't go up. So DeZingle is your 12th man. You need to have DeZingle.
Oh yeah.
Otherwise, you don't have enough forwards.
Yeah, he's not a trading option.
You can't trade anyone.
Not right
No, I
now.
mean, like,
everything's locked.
Yeah.
You can't.
No, next
you can't
season is a
replace
different
a
story. The next
defenseman
season.
with a forward. is what I'm saying.
Oh yeah. I'm saying is, so you've got 8 healthy defenders.
Who do you
Slavin,
eith-
Dougie, Brady Shea, Jake Gardner, Hayden Fleury, Trevor Van Riemsdyk, Sammy Vatanen. You got all those guys ready to play. So who do you put in? Who do you keep out?
I'd go based off of playoff knowledge and playoff experience.
I really hate saying this, but I would say put TVR on waivers.
Yeah. Because we all know we're going to be keeping Flurry.
Big time.
Well, TVR
Brent, I'm still
isn't
on
making
the
enough
hashtag
money.
bring
I mean,
it
you're still looking at trying to move about $4 million.
Yeah, which is why during the offseason, I think we're going to start shopping Reimer since he looked really good this year, and the Canes seem to be committed on Mrazek. We're going to shop him and then bring up Ned.
Yeah, well, here's another option. What if they gave us compliance buyouts like they did during after the lockout season?
I don't know. We'll just see what happens. I'm just hoping we have hockey on my birthday, which is July. Please.
They're gonna have to figure out a lot of things. So, because here's the thing, if any, like TVR is only making $2.3 million to put hit, you'd have to move TVR and Edmondson into waivers to either that or put Sammy Vatanen on waivers. But we traded Sammy Vatanen because Sammy Vatanen makes about $2.4 million, right? Joel makes 3.1, TVR makes 2.3, right? Gardner makes 4, Che makes 5, Slavin makes 5, or 5.2 and 5.3 respectively, right? Dougie makes 5.7, right? So Dougie coming in pushes the cap space down to just about negative $4 million. So they need to move $4 million to figure this out, right? So the only move really is, because Vatten is going to be healthy, Dougie's going to be healthy, is to move TVR and possibly even Joel, because moving Hayden Fleury isn't going to help you, and none of the forwards. It's going to be rough.
I don't want to lose the crop top. Jeff looked so good in that.
Look, here's the truth of the matter. Both Joel Edmondson and Trevor Van Riemsdyk will be playing for different teams next year.
Oh, yeah.
So if you
no
lose them
question.
off of waivers, you lose them off of waivers. In fact, I need to make sure to double check the rules for waivers.
Dude,
But do you think with
the
everything...
rulebook is getting thrown out.
And that's another thing, like, especially with all this happening, like, you're right, a rulebook is probably going to get thrown out. So what do we do?
Nothing.
And again, when is all... But again, when is all this going to happen, though? Because there's no guarantee on what's going to happen to the season yet. So a lot of this is all speculation on how it's going to play out.
This is true. Like, so we're talking like, if the
Let's just
season
be glad we're
continues.
not the NBA, because some dude in the executive group said that, the NBA might be playing years without fans. Oh my, you guys are committing business suicide.
I don't believe that, honestly.
Yeah, I doubt that would happen, but the NBA does have a rabid followership that the hockey league simply doesn't replicate. And when I say rabid,
Not yet.
I mean not yet. I mean, like, you've got fans for the NBA in more places than you have fans for hockey, and there's more NBA fans than hockey fans. Now, of course, the cream de la crop is always going to be football in this country, followed by probably probably followed by baseball, but then you're just gonna have to really deal with hockey. Hockey just can't work without the fans. I mean, and I'll say this again: like, if you're gonna play without fans, then who are you playing for?
That is true.
The fans who are sitting there at the bar watching.
Okay, how are you gonna connect with them?
Well, yeah. I mean, you're going to get TV ratings, though, as long as it's televised.
Well, yeah, okay, it's televised. You
But the
get
energy
TV ratings.
isn't the same.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, as a player, as a league, as a whole league, as a sport, as a league of players, who are you playing for? Because at that point, what's the difference between you and a beer leaguer? You're just better, and your shit's on TV.
Yeah. Yeah.
But at the same time, I mean,
I get it.
Go ahead, Amanda.
No, I'm just saying, I get what he's saying, but I'm just, it's.
And then at the same time,
just the energy of the fans being there would not be the same.
and to piggyback off of that, you throw all the emotions and all different style of fans into a bar, and that's going to up bar fights. I mean, it's going to bring in money for the bar, but at the same time, you're putting a bunch of hockey fans of different teams, especially being down here in the South, because there's a good collection of different team fans, and you put them inside different bars, and it's going to spark a lot of unnecessary fights and heated discussions. And I mean, look at the playoffs last year and how many fights they actually had at PNC.
Dang Boston fans.
Okay,
I wasn't going to spot out.
You're always gonna have fights at bars. I mean, that's what you do.
What is this? This Roadhouse?
Roadhouse.
I don't know if I could agree with that one. I mean, you're gonna have. Not everybody's gonna be. Okay, what am I trying to say?
Not everyone's gonna go to the bar. If you're gonna watch it, you can watch it at home. You can watch it anywhere.
There's that. I mean, and then even during the playoffs when we were at the bars, there were other fans there, and everybody seemed to get around. God, why can't I speak?
Words are hard.
Words are hard.
Yes, words are hard. Everybody seemed to get along pretty well. I mean, I remember we were at the ale house, and we had that whole table next to us that weren't they from Boston? Wasn't it? Do you remember that?
Oh,
Definitely.
yes, Amanda, there was one game where
Oh,
were
yeah, the
Boston,
cops.
But
Yeah,
I think
the
the one
cops.
you're referring to was I think it was game 7 against Washington, when that entire table was all Caps fans and they were like decked out in everything, including their hair.
No,
No,
I know which one you're talking
That's
about.
a different one.
It was when we were playing
Yeah, I'm
Boston,
talking about that
the first
with Boston with the
Boston
cops,
game.
Yeah.
And they're
Yeah,
sitting
yeah.
like catty corner to us, and they're all there for golf or something, if I'm correct.
Right.
They're on a golf trip. Yeah, they had deep Boston accents too.
Right. I mean, and they were cool. They were really. We messed around and talked junk with each other, but at the end of the night, we said our goodbyes, and then that was it. But I mean, saying that it would bring more bar fights, I don't know. I think it's funny. It's a funny thought, but I don't know if that would really be a valid argument.
I guess I've been hanging out in the wrong bars.
Maybe.
You're just from northern New York, and that's where everything goes down.
Well,
Hey,
yeah,
hey.
maybe I'm used to Southern
You're right.
hospitality.
Hey, if you live in an area where fans pile drive each other through flaming tables during a tailgate, something's up.
I mean,
It's not a
didn't we
party
do
unless
that?
there's a fire.
Yeah, didn't we do that last time?
What was that?
What, body slam someone through a table?
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah,
I don't
not
know,
have
but I
that
know
on
it's
my
not a
table.
party. It's not a real party unless there's a fire. Controlled or uncontrolled.
Yeah.
So, I mean, one of the
Fire.
things that I can say about Canes fans is there is that Southern hospitality thing going on down here where everybody is genuinely welcoming and kind and nice to each other, and they know what sportsmanship is supposed to be like, and how to have a good time without being a-holes. That's one of the things that I can definitely say about Canes fans that is a little bit different than other cities.
Well,
But
we'll
can
see
you
how
say
this all
that
goes.
during basketball season? Same fans
March
during
Madness.
basketball season.
True.
We'll find out. We'll see. We don't even know what's gonna happen. I doubt that the NBA is gonna go without fans for years. At that point, we'll
No.
see how things will happen. It's gonna be a tough time to regroup and retake on. Until then, let's talk a quick moment about Patreons. We want to say thank you to all the Patreons that we have so far. People like Angie Wagner, Danielle Donaldson, and other names. Andrew Jabor, Brad
Hey, we
Coes,
know who they are.
Elizabeth Beaulieu, Grace or Gracie Kimball, Hannah Smith, Jody McCurdy, Katie Murphy, Kyle Perkins, Mike Vaughn, Mitchell Savis, William Wells, and Zachary Fortier. I'm going to say thank you to all of you. Those who are looking out, getting a new Doug Hug sticker. For those of you who have what is a Doug Hug sticker? I need one in my life. Luckily for you, we still have plenty of Doug Hug stickers. Go to our Patreon at www.patreon.com/RedvolutionR. So Redvolution and then the letter R. And the Doug Hug stickers are available for $5. It's a continued membership. Every month you'll get a new sticker. Next month's sticker is going to be an interesting one. I think it's probably one of our coolest stickers we've made in a while. You can also join previous month's sticker clubs to include the Morgan Geeky Sticker Club, so the Geeky Squad. If you join those clubs or whichever sticker group you join, you'll get the new and improved sticker the next month. For limited time, if you join, you'll also get a holographic Redvolution Rampage sticker. These are pretty cool. They're shiny. So those are additional for free. So make sure to check us out on there. Make sure to check us out on Twitter. Follow us on Twitter. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram to keep up with the latest news and happenings here at Redvolution Rampage. Again, you can always listen to newest episodes at RedvolutionRampage.com, home of your greatest Carolina Hurricanes podcast. I think this is a great episode. We will be recording a Redvolution Rampage After Dark where all bets are off and it's going to be a fun time. But to listen in to a Redvolution Rampage After Dark, you have to be a Patreon. So those episodes will be exclusively available at patreon.com. So make sure that you go and join there. What's up?
Let's not forget to mention our sponsor, Instill
Yes.
Distillery.
Oh yeah.
They are doing drive up. You can drive up and get you a bottle. On Saturdays, they've been doing snow cones and things like that. If you go to the actual distillery, you can get yourself a bottle and a snow cone, or you can go to your
Didn't
local
they make the
ABC
news the
store and
other
grab
day?
it there.
Yes.
Yes, they did.
Yeah, they're doing.
Why?
They're using one of their stills for to make hand sanitizer. I thought we talked about this in
For the
one of our
first
last
responders.
episodes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, they sure are.
Also,
But
aren't they
if you
doing
get your-
a? Oh, go ahead, Amanda.
just let me throw this out there. If you get yourself a bottle either straight from the distillery or from the ABC store, tag us, tag them. We'll give you a shout out. I'm done.
Yes.
All right. What are we trying to say, Jeff?
And if I'm correct, aren't they doing a drive-by Easter parade tomorrow or something like that in Clayton or in some? I know I
think they
saw
were
a little
trying to
video.
organize that. Yeah.
I guess. I don't know. I don't live there.
Yeah.
So
Hey,
yeah.
I did a drive by with Amanda's house for Rayla's birthday, so
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Thanks, Canes fans.
Yeah, check out that
to
video
anybody
on
that
Facebook.
participated. That was very awesome.
I'm sorry I missed that. My sleeping has been non-existent at certain times of the day.
All right, this has been Redvolution Rampage. Thank you for listening.